let you all in a little secret. When I play the tingshes, the bells, when we start, what's going on for me is that for me that's much like someone who used divining rods or a pendulum. I'm getting information. So the four directions that I honor when I play those bells are I know what they mean. I mean, I believe I have for me an understanding of them. And when I miss on one of them, that's telling me that there's something to work on there. And so if I miss in the south, if it's off in the south, it usually means that I'm being critical of one of the bowl players. Or that I am out of good relation or clear relationship with someone else in the world. That's usually what that means. I'm pretty good about hitting the west, which is the place where which focuses on perseverance and strength and such. But then again, I miss that sometimes too if I'm not being clear about who I am. And the north. It's no surprise I miss the north as well. That's the place of the elders. That's the place of great wisdom. And I'm wobbling in that place this morning. It'll be a miracle if I don't cry. And if anybody here hasn't seen me cry, get over it. Rockingbear would say that if someone was crying and tears and somebody else was trying to hand them a box of Kleenex, that what they were saying is, your crying makes me uncomfortable. Would you please stop it? That's the kind of teacher I have in Rockingbear. I have in Rockingbear. Yeah. So please indulge me this morning because I want to share my story. I'm sure that mine is not the best story, the most interesting story about having a teacher. I know for a fact there are people in this room that could tell much better stories about their relationship with Will Rockingbear than me. But I've only got mine. So I'm going to do that this morning. And I'm trusting there's something in it for you. So, it's like 20 years ago. We had not started this center. Barbara and I were members of the Unity Church out in Arden. And the Unity Church in Arden owned property in Fletcher. I was on the board. As soon as I got there, they put me on the board. I was on the board at Unity before I was a member. And they had this guy that wanted to give them this thing called a pod. It was this little building that looked like a Hershey's Kiss. It was green, had a door. It was the most bizarre thing. And I believe you, Warren, went up there and built that platform that thing sat on. I helped you one day. You almost killed me. When the board was voting on this at Unity, I didn't get it. Why are we going to pay $6,000 for this thing? And when I tried to abstain, Chad got in my face and said, we do everything by consensus here. Are you with us? Sure, no problem. Well, I and my men's circles were the only ones that ever used that building out there, so I guess it was about me. I was passionate about doing men's work. I'd been to a thing in Tennessee. I was all excited about meeting with men and really just kind of exploring this idea of who we were. And so I invited other men to come with me. And some amazing people showed up. Some of them are in the room. And we just kind of looked at who we were as men. We got as deep into it as we could. And one day I was minding my own business, and one of the men in the circle said, I'm going to do a vision quest. What? A vision quest? What's that? And he explained as best he knew, because he'd never done one. And I said, I want to do it too. How do I do that? He said, we can go see this guy Rockingbear. Okay. I got a little guidance. I think he told me to take some. It was Keith. You're here, Keith. Thank you. He said, take some tobacco. That's about what I know. And so I went up there. And I sat with Will at his lodge on the north side of Mount Mitchell, at the base of it. And we talked. And he said he needed 4 days to work with his spirit guys to see if it was right for me to be in this. There were already 3 other questers, and they thought that was it, but we'd see. So, 4 days. So when I came back on the 4th day to get the answer, he said that it had been a very interesting 4 days. That he was working with his spirit guides one morning, he had stepped out onto his porch, And a wasp came and stung him on the arm. And he brushed it away, and it went around and stung him on the other arm. He said, oh, this is going to be a hard one. There were times it was hard for both of us. Yes. So he said that the wasp was my totem. That was my spirit guide. All these other people got eagles and bears and really cool totems, and I've got a wasp. So I studied the wasp, and I learned that the wasp was fiercely defending its family. That its relationships were deeply important, and it would give its life for that. Okay, I'm in. So the thing that you did to prepare for a vision quest was that you did prayer ties every day. And I'll have to say he was gentle on me, because I know there were people that he had doing many prayer ties every day, but I only had to do 7. You know, something new. Oh God, it's almost midnight. I got to do my prayer tie. But finally I got into a routine, and I could do that. And I would sit out on the porch in Fairview, on the little farmhouse where we lived, and I would sit outside, and I would bring my things, and I would lay them out and do my prayers, hold the tobacco, and pray in the directions, and put it into little pieces of fabric and tie them together on a string, and they were all rolled into a ball. And what was amazing was how many days that a wasp came and sat on the table in front of me while I did my prayers. Coincidence? I don't think so. A deeper understanding of life, which really helped me. I did 2 vision quests that Rockingbear guided me on. The first one, 2 days before I was to go up on the mountain, I had been doing the preparation and all, and had to go get the permission of the other questers before I could go, but they sort of were, tolerating me. And we were planning to go up there, and Barbara was out tending to her garden, and she fell into a hole. And we thought she sprained her ankle, and we put ice on it for a day, and it didn't get any better. So we took her the day before I was supposed to go on my quest to the hospital, had her x-rayed, and it was broken in 2 places. And she looked at me and said, "You're not really going to leave me." And I don't know why, because I always make Barbara the most important thing. I said, "I have to go." She was really pissed. So as soon as she could, after I was up on the mountain for 4 days and 4 nights with no food or no water, that's the way we do it, she made her way up to the fire. But her leg was broken, so she had an entourage of help. And so the way I understand it was, she's coming up the mountain, and Rockingbear's going, "Who the hell is that?" And she's going, "Who the hell is he?" Now that's a way to start a relationship. There is, the adoring of those 2, I don't know of any closer. And I understand it, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong about this, but what I was told is that it was Rockingbear's intention to be here Friday night a week ago to celebrate Barbara's presentation of her doctorate. But instead he went to the hospital. And that's where he was until he made his transition last Friday night. He was that kind of teacher. So, that was my first vision quest. My second vision quest was a little easier. All I had was bronchitis. And my other questers said they could hear me cough all day, all night. But I got through it. It was quite amazing. In both cases, this is how it works. The one that holds you during the quest is the one you go to afterwards for an interpretation of your vision. I thought, why do you need interpretation? You just get it. I had no idea what these visions were about. I had the goofiest visions. They made no sense to me at all. And I sat with Rockingbear in both cases and just said this nonsense. And he explained it to me so clearly. Just as though there was nothing, as though he got it so clearly. Why didn't I get it? Well, that's not how it works. He was to interpret my vision. And he did, eloquently, beautifully. And I got it. And I have made my life work by those visions. So I'm very grateful for the Vision Quest. Golly. I've had a lot of mystical experiences with Rockingbear. Many of them occurred in the circle that we started after Barbara did her Vision Quest with John Gustafson. There you are, John. And although I've never said it out loud and almost died, we were so entrenched in the idea of what we were finding in our lives through this work with Rockingbear that we asked him if we could have a circle. There was a standing Wednesday circle that had been around for quite a while, but we were wanting to do another circle, and he said, find 12 people that will come and be a part of this on a weekly basis. Come to the lodge and sit and learn, and we'll do that. So we went out and found the other people, and we had a Thursday circle. I mentioned the Thursday circle, actually. Someone asked me if I was in the Wednesday circle, because that was the main circle, was Wednesday. And I said, no, Barbara and I were involved in starting the Thursday circle. The people I was talking to last night at the fire said, oh, the Thursday circle. I never went to that, but I heard stories. Yeah, so Rockingbear was the one telling the stories, so I'm sure there was some stuff going on. I know there was. He had such great stories. The man, so rich. Here's one. He was talking about being at a pipe ceremony. Pipe ceremony is prayer ceremony. That's what it's about. And he said that he was about to light the pipe with a match. And a woman, a visitor, or someone that he didn't know very well was in the circle and said, oh, no, don't do that, don't do that. What? And she said, you don't use a match to light a sacred pipe? And he said, well, how do you light your pipe? She says, I go to the fire and I get a piece of hot coal and I put that in the top of the bowl. And he said, my dear, how do you light that fire? Oh. He told another story about someone criticizing him in pipe ceremony, and he asked him to go get a stone so that he could crush his pipe, because obviously she's been insulted. He was such a brilliant teacher of how not to be in judgment. I mean, to take you to an extreme, to see there's nothing to be in judgment about. Everybody is finding their way. That doesn't mean that we're not going to be impeccable, because that's what his life was about, being impeccable. So all the experiences that we had were about being impeccable. His definition of impeccable was having what you think and what you say and what you do being exactly the same. I have not mastered that. But I'm grateful to be reminded when I haven't mastered it so that I can work it out. So that I can move into that place of impeccability, because I felt that place. It is not necessarily an easy place, but it is a very powerful place. I was reminded at the fire last night, there's a fire, a 4-day fire that is burning in Rockingbear's honor, and I went to that fire, and someone reminded me that I had not kept an agreement. I was immediately remembering that and stated in my mind why that hadn't happened, which was so lame. But I was grateful to be reminded of that, because if that person had not been so honorable to remind me of that, I would have lived out of integrity with that person forever, and they with me. So when someone says, you said you were going to, and that hasn't happened, they are not making you bad. They are giving you opportunity to be impeccable with your word. Isn't that wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we really lived our lives that way? That we could love each other enough to remind each other if we said we were going to do something and we hadn't done it. I am so grateful. I am so grateful. I didn't agree with everything that Rockingbear said. Yeah, I had disagreements. That was good. That meant I was thinking. I knew he was thinking. But it meant I was thinking. But he never, ever said he would do something and didn't do it. And in most cases, what I realized is he just didn't promise to do much. No, it's really cool. Think about it. The one thing he did promise me, he promised me he'd always love me. He kept that one perfectly. He loved me enough to point out when I was being stupid, when I was off my path. And he has played an amazing role in where I am today. I went to him years ago, 6 maybe 7 years ago. Wow, 7 years ago. And I said, Rockingbear, I'm thinking about running for the top leadership position in our spiritual community. And he said, what do you want? Oh, that question. I've heard it before. I've heard Barbara warn people. If you're going to go sit with Rockingbear, he's going to say, what do you want? You better damn well know what you want. Or it's going to go nowhere. And without thinking, and I always did think because I had an agreement with him that I would always speak the truth with him. And that day I didn't think. I just said it. I said, I want our two organizations to come back together as one. And if there's anyone here that doesn't know, this spiritual movement that you're a part of being in this room did a split. Actually, when I was 4 months old, they split into 2 factions. And I had this dream that it would come back together. And so that's what I said to Rockingbear without thinking. I wanted it to come back together. He said, go do it. So for the next year, before I actually was voted on in that election, my prayer every day was not that I would be the leader. My prayer every day was that we would have one organization. And months after I lost that election, it was not mine to do. But just a few months later, it was announced that there was great stride being made toward that idea. And the man that was working on it in the part of the organization I was in, his name was Nirvana Gale. And he was putting the team together to do this. And he went to the leadership and said, if I do this, I get to pick my team and nobody else can tell me no. And he said that because he wanted to make sure I was on the team. So that's how all that got started. And as you know, 2 years ago we came back together, and last February I was elected the president of that reunited organization. And this has been the greatest run of my life. And I wouldn't have understood that if I hadn't sat with my teacher and let him give me that guidance. He was such an amazing, pragmatic, clear teacher. One of the greatest things he taught me was about the pipe, the prayer pipe. This ancient idea. He told me the story that has been told for eons by the Lakota people about how the pipe came into being. I have sat and done ceremony with Lakota people in times where's Cliff? He's not in the room? Oh, he's with the kids, that's great. Cliff and I went up to the Lakota reservation in Pine Ridge, and there was a moment where Cliff, not having had the blessing of Rockingbear's teachings, made a misstep and ended up getting pretty raged on by a medicine man up there. And I'm in the corner going, thank you, Rockingbear, thank you, Rockingbear, thank you, Rockingbear. And that teacher, or that medicine man up there, came to me later and asked me if I was a pipe carrier. And at that moment, I was not a pipe carrier. He asked me if I knew the story of the pipe. And I said, he kept calling me this Cherokee man. And I said to him, I am not Cherokee. I am as white as anyone in the continent of Europe. I just have a Cherokee teacher. But he wouldn't listen to me. And he said, so what do you know about the pipe? And I said, well, I understand the story of the pipe, that there was the Cherokee white buffalo calf woman. That doesn't mean anything to most of you, but he was hysterical because it's not a Cherokee story, it's a Lakota story. And before I left that reservation, I had a pipe. You forgot that, didn't you? I called Barbara from that reservation while I was up there, and she said, how's it going? I said, well, I think I just did ceremony and I may be married. And she said, does she cook? pipe. Rockingbear taught me how to find the bowl of the pipe in the stone and how to find the stem of the pipe in the wood and how to bring them together. It was one of the most poignant teachings of my life. And the thing about it is that you don't make these beings or find these beings with power tools. You've got to use your hands. You've got to use a rasp and a file and a drill bit, but you just do this until you get through. It takes so many hours, and it is such a clean and beautiful meditation, because what you're finding is not just the form of the pipe. You're finding your soul. And as soon as it's done, what do you do with this amazing thing that you found? You give it away. Nothing in my life has been more powerful in my inner being than that process. And I owe that entirely to Rockingbear. Rumi says, pray for a tough instructor to hear and act and stay within you. Pray for a tough instructor to hear and act and stay within you. So now that's what I have. And will always have. I am so grateful. The reason, as Rockingbear explained to me, that we have a teacher is because we don't know what we don't know. So we find somebody that maybe knows a little more than we do. And we ask them to support us to moving into the light. This is my teacher. But I am so grateful. I am so grateful. Thank you, dear. I'm going to keep calling on you. So this afternoon we celebrate Rockingbear's life here in this room. We're doing prayer ceremony. If you're interested in coming, please come with no ego. Don't expect anything. Don't come to experience it. Come to be the ceremony. I am so grateful for